I think there's a bad connotation with the word obsessed, but I think you have to be in order to be successful in anything.
On today's episode, we are talking to the number one auto insurance producer in the country with his company, Luke Roth. His team writes over 800 policies a month, every single month, 450 of those being auto insurance policies. He's going to get into how he drives those results every single month, his team dynamic, how big his team is, how much his marketing spend is, how he's driving those leads, what markets he's marketing, and more. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your host, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and today we have a very special guest, the number one auto insurance producer of his company that he works with, Mr. Luke Roth. What's going on, Luke?
Hey, thank you so much, Michael and Courtney, for having me. I've been a big fan of your podcast for a while, so when you reached out to me, I jumped at the opportunity. I'm so glad, we have this time to sit down and chat today.
Luke, let's go! Hell yeah, man. We're excited. I freaking love if you're checking this out on YouTube right now, make sure you look at Luke's background. He's got Jordan Belfort, man, in the background. Let's go, baby. Wolf of Wall Street.
It's going to be like I'm already banging on yes.
All right, let's do this. So I would love to know, number one auto insurance producer. I automatically am like, this guy's got to have a huge sales team. So let's just get this out right now. How big's your sales team?
Yeah, so I have only 5 full-time P&C salespeople, and I'm also very heavily involved in production as well. I actually don't have like a private office. I sit right in the sales pit with my sales team and try to fire them up. And I do that for a multitude of reasons. One, I want them to be able to listen to me and learn from the live conversations I'm having. And also that allows me to listen to them much more effectively. And that's basically what my day consists of, is making outgoing sales calls, role playing with my sales team, and coaching them in the moment when I'm hearing them on live sales calls.
How many years have you been in the business?
So it's amazing how time flies. I started April 1st, 2018. So a little over 6 years. It's been quite the journey. And, I'm just so blessed to have had the success that I've, garnered at this point.
So you're 6 years in, you're still sitting in the bullpen, and you're still doing the exact same thing that your sales team is doing every single day.
Yeah, like I don't want them to think like, oh, can't, there's no way Luke can make 100, 150, 200 calls a day. If they see me doing it, they have no reason not to. And, I think at least I like to think my work ethic is contagious, and, they feed off of it. Like they see me grinding, making, 200 plus calls a day. They see me building value during the sales conversation, disturbing people on their previous liability coverage, and then trying to close the business with confidence. And, it's just a really fun atmosphere. I mean, it literally is a sales pit. Everyone has bells on their desk. So as soon as, they get a sale, they're ringing the bell. I'll go over there, ask like, what did you get? And they'll be like, I got 3 cars home, and umbrella. I'll be like, geez, you're like the mailman. You always deliver. There we go. Or whatever, it's a little corny, but it's a lot of fun. It's a very relaxed, I don't know if this is, or contradictory, but everyone is relaxed. Like, it is fast paced, but we just have so much fun, and it's always rewarding when I have annual reviews with my, all my team members, and I'll say like, what do you like most about work here? And 99.9% of the time it's the culture. It's the atmosphere here. Like I genuinely have fun being in the trenches with you every day, Luke, and I so appreciate this opportunity. And that just warms my heart. It makes me so happy as an employer and as a business, as a business owner.
Okay, I love that you bring this up, and I love that you said relaxed, because we do have this connotation where we will say, okay, if it's energetic, if it's exciting, if it's fast-paced, if there's a lot going on, we a lot of times assume that it goes with chaos. But actually what you're saying is when you're focused on a goal, you're focused on success, you're doing it right along with them. It's fun. There's this fast-paced energy. It's not stressful because you guys are all working towards the same goal. And I think a lot of times that's what hangs people up is they're like, okay, if we're going to move at this fast pace, it's going to be stressful. And you're here to say, no, it's actually not how that works. It's actually more fun. It's actually less stressful when you're focused on that. So my question is, okay, you have these 5, like, all right, we're all banging on our chest. We're getting in here every single day. Where did you find these people?
So I believe you can teach anything besides a personality. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking for in an interview. So I want to see, are they energetic? Are they outgoing? Are they personable? Are they gregarious young individuals? Are they willing to learn? And the average age of one of my sales team members is probably 21, 22 years old. I mean, I get them pretty much fresh. 2 of my highest producing sales team members, started with me at 18 and 19 years old, with no insurance, really no work experience. But I noticed the first 6 months, I always have team members start off in service so that the way they can learn the business, because you can't potentially be selling a policy that you don't fully understand. And I also think it make the salesperson appreciate the service team more if they have experience in service, because they see everything the service team's dealing with. So that's why I like to have everyone start off in service. And then if I feel someone has potential for sales, I'll bring them over to the sales side of the organization. And as long as they're making the calls and they're continuing to study the rebuttals I'm teaching them to all the objections that we come across, usually they're always successful. And I think they really just become entrenched in the sales culture. And there's a little statue, we call it Little Luke. There's a little statue with my face on it, and whoever had the most recent sale gets Little Luke on their desk. And then, as soon as someone else rings the bell, Little Luke moves. And the goal is for Little Luke to get in as many steps as possible throughout the day. So everyone's trying to, get the most recent sale. And everyone just roots for each other. There's no animosity. Everyone is, so happy when, there's another sale on the board, and it just really has been one of the highlights, just seeing everything developed to where it is now. Like, I remember my first year and a half as an agent, I was the only salesperson, and I was having a lot of success, but it was kind of lonely. It's like, shoot, I wish I had a team around me that I could enjoy this with. And slowly but surely, I built the team up, and now I have 23 total team members, 5 P&C sales team members, 2 life specialists, and then I got my management team, and then the rest of the team members are comprised of the frontline service team.
All right, we're going to dive into that more too, but I don't want to overlook something that I hope everyone is gathering from this, because in a day and age where everybody pushes the CEO model and everybody has a different vision on what a CEO looks like, I am a huge proponent of exactly what you're doing, Luke. Like, I feel like so many of us, especially young business owners, we're not hitting the goals we want to hit, but we're like, we're also not doing the work. It's like sometimes you just got to get in, you got to lead by example, you got to be with your sales team, and you just got to do the damn work, period. And so I love the fact that you're doing this, brother.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in participative management. I mean, as I alluded to earlier, like, if they see me making 200 plus calls a day, writing 150, 200 plus, apps a month, I mean, what excuse do they have? And, I'm not only selling, I also have to hire people. I also have to have meetings with my management team. I have to have performance reviews. Like, their sole job is just to pick up the phone, start dialing, and try to bring on as much business as possible. So, I mean, they see me do it, and, they want to try to replicate it. They try to beat me each month in terms of overall production. And it's just been a very healthy sales culture that's been created.
Hey, baby, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, baby. Let's go. All right, so let's get it, because I'm curious now. You've got 5 sales reps plus yourself. You are producing how many auto are you producing on average a month, would you say?
So last year we averaged 450 new cars a month, which was fantastic. I was really happy with that. We're going through a lot of rate issues here in New York and really the whole tri-state area and eligibility. So production's dipped a little bit this year, but I'm confident that we should be able to get back to our 2023 production in 2025, if not exceed it.
Yeah, and that's just auto. Do you know roughly, like, total app-wise or items that
Yes.
you're doing
Yeah. So total apps is about 800
a
was
month?
yes, correct.
Very cool. Okay, so I'm curious as to the fact of what does this model look like? So you said you have your management team, and so you have your sales team. And so is your sales team, when they close the business, are they actually processing the application, or does that get passed to like a sales assistant or service? To what does this look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have one team member who her full-time job is to do all the onboarding. So as soon as we take payment, we'll create a task for the sales assistant that basically goes along the lines of please write renters, please write umbrella policy, any secondary policy that we sold the customer on, cancel out Geico policy, cancel out Allstate, notify mortgage, any onboarding that needs to go on. And the reason I do that is because I want my sales team to just get on the next call. The best time to make a sales call is when you just made a sale. You have that dopamine rush, you have confidence, you have an extra little pep in your step. And I remember when I was a team member before I was a State Farm agent, I would always hate like when I got the sale and then it was like a 30, 40-minute process of doing all these ancillary onboarding items. And it kind of stopped my momentum a little bit. I just want to be able to kind of pick up and go. And that was something that was very important to me when I started my agency. I want to create that. So once either myself or one of my sales team members got a sale, they could just move right on to the next call and keep the train rolling. And we write so much business that it is the sales assistant's only job. She doesn't really have to do anything else in terms of service of existing business. It's just all getting the new business onboarded and up and running.
So I was going to ask that. So you have one sales assistant that is ultimately putting through around 700 policies a month. Like
yes and no.
processing-wise.
So basically what we'll do is, we will take payment in the monthly account, and then we'll create a task for the sales assistant to write any secondary policy that needs to be written, such as like a renter's policy, umbrella policy. The auto policy, my team already worked up, quoted, and that's done. So the sales assistant doesn't have to do anything with that. It's just if there was like a secondary fire policy, for example, that she will work up and or she will, write up, add it to the monthly account, and be good to go.
Okay.
I want to get into marketing because you briefly touched on your marketing or your market being in New York. And we have seen what's happening in New York and around New York. So tell me a little bit about what your strategy is currently and what you're doing to adapt to what's happening in the rate environment that we're in right now.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I feel you have to go where the grass is greenest. So like right now, Pennsylvania is the most price competitive area in terms of like states I'm licensed in. So my company can only be licensed in states that are adjacent to you. So my primary state's New York. So I'm allowed to be licensed in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Vermont is also an adjacent state, but there's not enough people in Vermont to
It's just
warrant
maple syrup, man. Like I said,
yeah, to warrant getting a license there and marketing there. It just wouldn't be worth it. So right now I'm in Pennsylvania, but I can't get to meet my 350-day new lead volume that I need. I can't unfortunately get it all in Pennsylvania, so I have to supplement it with New York. New York seems to be the second best option among states I'm licensed in. So right now I'm trying to get as much as I can in PA and then supplement it with New York, just because Connecticut and Jersey really isn't that great right now.
all right, so let's talk about if you're open to your marketing spend.
Yeah.
How much you're spending per producer and where that's coming from.
Yeah, so until 3 days ago, I thought I was the highest, or I thought I spent more money marketing than any agent in my company, but I was wrong. So I spend about $40,000 a month in internet lead marketing. And
Is that total or is that per producer?
oh, I wish it was per producer. No, that's I hope to be on that level one day.
Okay.
That's for me and my 5
Got it.
PNC salespeople.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's split up amongst them. And I mean, I have no qualms about upping that. I just need the bodies. I need to continue to hire and bring people over to the sales end. And then once I am properly staffed, I'll keep upping it and, just keep the snowball building up there.
Okay, so you don't have to say who pays the most in marketing, but I firmly believe that once you hear bigger numbers, you expand into like, oh, I didn't even know that that was possible. So you said up until 3 days ago, you thought you were spending the most. What's the biggest number you've heard?
I heard 75,000 a month,
Okay.
which to me is a gargantuan number. I mean, that's 900 grand a year. My math is decent. So, I, that's a number I want to get to once it makes business sense. I don't want to just be throwing money away, of course. But I would love to get to the point where I was getting a very good ROI on that spend and it was feasible. So that's
Yeah.
something I definitely want to work towards.
Yeah, spending $1 million to make $10 million.
Yes,
Kind of
exactly.
situation.
Yeah, and so you're spending roughly $6,000 a person, including yourself, a month.
Yep.
And it's so 40,000. So we're talking, let's say round up, so $500,000 a year.
Yep.
Okay, how much premium are you producing?
About 12 million. So it's a lot of premium.
That's a pretty good ROI.
Yeah. Yeah. I've averaged from 2019 to 2023, I've averaged growing 2,300 cars a year. And my premium just has really shot up substantially and very happy with how it's going.
Dude, again, there are so many times I want to headbutt. Like, we got to start doing these podcasts in person. I mean, I don't think we should headbutt.
You know
people,
how
but
excited I'll get. I'll be
no.
running around the room like, let's go.
Okay, all right. I love these kinds of conversations, but Luke, I have to ask you because you're sitting in the leader position. What are you doing? Because you continue to see opportunity. Your company says, okay, we're not competitive in this state. You're like, fine. What states are we competitive in that I can get licensed in? So I want to know what's your mindset or what are your daily practices that have gotten you to this point where you're like, I'm just going to see this challenge as an obstacle. What's my opportunity next? Like, okay, I'm going to tackle that and move on. What's your mindset practice? What's the daily, like, how do we become Luke?
You know what's amazing? Like when I started my State Farm agency career, my only goal was I was like, you know what? I think I could be top 5 in my territory in auto production, let alone forget overall app, just auto production. Like that was my goal. And my first official month, I led my territory in auto apps, and I think I was second in overall production. And I was really happy. I was like kind of puffing out my chest. I was excited with this early success I was having. And I had an amazing sales leader at the time. And he's like, Luke, here's the thing, okay? You are the best salesperson I've ever come across. You have the best work ethic I've ever seen in my 30 years with the company. Why aren't you number one already? Like, there's no other agent in our territory whose team is making 350, 400 calls a day. You're the best salesperson. You're making the most calls. Don't sell yourself short. You should be number one in not just our territory, which is comprised of 50 agents, but hopefully the whole Northeast. And it was around this time that I was reading the book Outliers, which is one of my favorite books of all time.
So good.
Yep.
And it talks about the 10,000 hour rule and how basically you can be an expert in a field if you dedicate, you dedicate yourself to it within 5 years. And they gave examples. For example, Antonio Gates never even played college football, but he was one of the top 5 tight ends in, a couple years once he entered the NFL. Mike Tyson was the world heavyweight champ within 5 years of picking up boxing gloves. Joel Embiid picked up a basketball for the first time at 14 years old, and then was the 3rd overall draft pick at 19 years old. And this inspired me because I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, I'm only 23 years old. There's people who are smarter than me, who have so much more experience than me. How can I compete with them? And I said to myself, I just have to outwork them. And I became completely obsessed with adding to my business and sales acumen. Just a quick story that I think you'll find somewhat interesting. So right after college, the first job I had was working for my father, and he hired me to be a full-time salesperson. And my first month, I sold 2 policies. It was just 2 renters policies. And I was walking past his break room, and I overheard 2 of his team members talking about me, and were like, oh my God, Luke sounds awful. He is not going to last. Like, he should not be doing this. The only reason he's here is because his last name is Roth. And it hit me like a truck. I was thinking to myself, like, I want to be a contributing member to the team. I don't want to just be Matthew's son. So I did some research. I came across Grant Cardone, and he had a very highly regarded sales platform. And I call up his office for information on the course. And of course, I'm talking to an amazing salesperson. And he's like, yeah, Luke, it's going to be $1,000. Would you like to put that on Visa or MasterCard? I'm like, oh, geez, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I could swing it. Like, I'm trying to make excuses. And he's like, Luke, if you're worried about $1,000 now, you'll never be a millionaire. And it hit me it just hit me right in the face. And I was like, holy cow. Like, you know what? Let me check my Chase account. And I had $1,140 in my Chase account. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll pay the $1,000. And I wanted to pay the $1,000 myself because I knew I'd be a lot more invested if I did it as opposed to if I asked my parents for the money. Yeah, my parents probably would have been happy to pay for it, but I wanted my money on the line. And at that point, I just became obsessed with trying to raise my knowledge as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I bought multiple sales courses. Yes, Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort, Brad Lee, Jeremy Miner. Inhaled all those courses. I was reading a sales book a week, and I would just try to basically take golden nuggets from every single source that I could find and prize it into where it is now. And it's sometimes I get emotional looking back at all the hours I put in to self-development, and it's paid off. And I'm just, I'm thankful for the journey that I've been on and continue to be on.
How long ago was that you had he's only here because his last name is Roth?
That was January 2016. So I worked for my father from January, basically 2 years, and then I became an agent April of 2018.
8 years ago.
Yeah. So I remember my first full year, I finished 9th in the company in auto production. My second full year, I finished 5th. My third full year, I finished 3rd. Then years 4 and 5, I led the company in auto production.
Dude, okay. All right. I got to have a moment here because this is like a 10x is easier than 2x jump. Mm-hmm. I loved it. Thank you so much for sharing that story, because if you are listening to this right now, I want you to go back and look 8 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago and look at all of the jumps you have made and think about what can happen in the next 2 years or 5 years, or in Luke's case, 8 years. You go from writing 2 policies a month to I'm number 1 in my entire company of 20,000 agents.
Yeah. So January 2016, 2 policies, and then 2022 was the number 1 auto producer in the company out of over 19,000 agents. Yeah.
6 years. You came in and you're like,
yeah,
okay. I love that. I get so fired up because at any point in time, we all have a decision that we can make that will completely change our life. We just have to make that choice of I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to hear this. I'm going to become the absolute best version of myself.
You're becoming the master of your craft.
Yeah. And, I want to be the best in all facets of my life. I want to be the best employer I can be. I want to be the best brother I can be, the best son I can be. Hopefully down the line, I'm blessed enough to have a wife and children. I want to be the best husband and father I can be. So, I would never want to be stagnant in any area of my life. I want to continue to improve in all those. And that's kind of just been mindset for as far back as I can remember.
Oh, it's taken me everything not to be like, mm-hmm.
I know.
Because this is self-developed. And I know, everyone knows the best investment you'll ever make is in yourself, but damn, it is so true.
Oh my gosh, yes. Absolutely.
I mean, Cardone, I've been a part of that. Brian Tracy, he was kind of my OG. I listened to his book, Psychology of Selling, every single day for 18 months in a row when I was a team member, just trying to learn, okay, how do I do this? And then started making money, started investing more into ourselves. It's just one of those things that we've found is the more money we invest in ourselves and the more work that you put in to then apply you're learning to master that. I mean, you just can't learn. You then have to go apply and be like,
absolutely.
Oh, shit, I hear this objection. Well, I'm going to try the same. Hey, you're never going to be a millionaire unless you're let's do it, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. As I mentioned, it's been quite the journey. And, I couldn't be more thankful for everyone who's helped me along the way. And, I remember I used to think that education ended once you graduate college, but, I think about the self-development that I've put in, the book, the sales courses, it's it's just really remarkable what you can do if you just focus, you have discipline, and just keep grinding. And that's kind of what I've done my whole career.
You have a vision too. Once you have a vision, once you have a target and you know what you're aiming towards, then you take everything that you have to run at that. So I'm curious, you're number one in the company right now. What's next for you? What's the next bigger vision that you have?
You know what? Like, as I mentioned, when I started my agency, I never thought I would be where I am now. And Hike, the agent we were talking
Mhm.
about before the podcast started, actually used the analogy of, sometimes I feel like a dog chasing a car, and once I catch the car, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, um, I guess I just want to continue to multiply it. Like right now I have 23 team members. I want to get to the point where I can have 30, 40, 50 team members. And of course, I want to have it make financial sense. So I want to build a sustainable business that is continuing to give me a very high ROI that that still has a culture that I'm proud of, where my team members love to come into work, where there's smiles on their faces, where they're laughing, where they're jubilant. I've gone to offices where the team members look miserable. There's no music playing. There's no energy. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, why would anyone work here? Like, I got to get the hell out. It's the most rewarding part of this job is just seeing your team members'
Mm.
lives improve. Like, I have a team member, Jen, who came to me at 19. Her only job experience was working part-time at a dental office. And I hired her just to kind of be basically a receptionist, making $30,000 a year. And I noticed by the end of her first year that she was just so good at soaking in all the information that myself and the management team was giving her. And I go to her, I'm like, Janet, what are your thoughts on going into sales? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm not an extroverted individual. I don't think it's for me, yada, yada, yada. I was like, Jen, the way you absorb information, like, I can teach you our script. I can teach you the rebuttals. I can teach you voice inflections and tonalities. Like, can we just try this for a month and see if you like it? She's like, okay, Luke, we can try for 1 month, but as long as you agree that if I don't like it, I can go right back to service. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Her first month, she wrote 110 policies. Remarkable. And she's been my top PNC team member ever since. And I've just seen her life completely change. She made 30,000 her first year. She's going to probably make six figures this year. And it was great seeing her be able to afford nicer clothes for herself, have nicer trips with her family. She's basically the breadwinner in her family amongst four other family members, have a nicer car. And that just it warms my heart, seeing that. And I have a bunch of other team member experiences like that. That's just one example of it. But it makes me feel good that I'm like building something that is providing people jobs, providing people a great culture that they love to work in each and every day. And um, I just kind of want to continue to multiply what I'm doing, just keep and seeing how big you can take it. Like, I don't know what the limit is. Like Hike was actually also talking about Roger Basser in the 4 Minute Mile.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, everyone thought it was impossible, and then Roger Bannister did it, and then like I think 100 people did the following year because they were able to realize, uh, it's possible. I remember 4 years ago, the leader in my company in auto production was at 3,300 cars, and I was thinking to myself like, oh my God, that's almost 300 cars a month. Like, how is that even possible? Did he land like some crazy commercial account that was like 1,000 cars? Like, how is it even feasible? Then the next year, an agent from California wrote 3,700 cars in a year. And I was like, holy cow, that agent did over 300 cars a month. Like, it can't get any higher. And then the year after that, I wrote 4,800 cars. So that's an average of 400 cars a month. And the following year after that, I did 5,500 cars, in a year. And that's an average of over 450. So I don't know what the cap is. I don't think there is one. I think if you continue to invest in yourself, invest in your agency, there is no limit. That's one of the beautiful things about the insurance industry. Like, it always blows my mind how a lot of agents, they will get to a certain point. I guess they're comfortable with certain level of income and they're just like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to bring on any more team members. I'm not going to invest any more money in marketing, you know? Uh, and it's foolish because you can just keep growing it, you know? The best investment I've ever made was in myself and in my business, and that's what I continue to do. And the study group I was at the last couple of days, you know, all these agents are trying to figure out how they can invest more money in their agency. You know, like they will get a big bonus and be like, okay, how can I take at least half of this and bring on more team members, put more money towards marketing, and just keep the snowball going and making it go bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's always just so invigorating to be a part of, you know, like-minded individuals who, you know, they don't want to plateau. They don't want to stop. They want to see how far they can take it. You know, a lot of these agents have probably millions and millions of dollars, have more money than they could ever really want to spend, but they just take pride in trying to build as great as an organization as possible. That's kind of what I want for myself long term.
Hunger. They have hunger.
Yeah,
they want to
exactly.
They want to expand.
Yeah,
like
hunger,
what's
yeah.
yeah.
You said a word earlier, obsessed.
Oh,
You're
Yeah.
obsessed, and you have to be obsessed. Or I think what GC wrote a book. You're either
obsessed
obsessed
or
or
you're
you're average,
average.
baby, and
Yeah.
average sucks. Like who's
Exactly.
obsessed?
And I think there's a bad connotation with the word obsessed, but I think you have to be in order to be successful in anything. You know, I'm sure you guys are obsessed with each other in your marriage. You know, you want
Yes.
to,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know, when hopefully I have children down the line, you know, I'm going to be obsessed with being the
Obsessed,
best
yeah.
father I can. You know, I'm going to be obsessed with being the best husband I can. I don't think there's anything wrong with being obsessed, you know, with certain, you know, certain healthy life aspects. Yes. You know, so
I think obsession is a way to really fulfill your potential when you're looking
Yeah.
at how do I be an extraordinary human being in the areas that really expand me. I think that's all we're talking about. I totally get like, yeah, you can be obsessed with things that are unhealthy, but we're talking about how do we be obsessed and growing? How do I stay hungry? How do I achieve and exceed what I even think is possible?
Yeah.
Because that changes I have heard the Roger Bannister name brought up probably 20 times in the past 2 weeks. And every time I think, this dude, it was in the 1950s, it's raining outside, he's in England, and he's like, I'm just going to go raw dog this and see what happens here. And now we're all getting after it. Like, we got high school kids running a 4-minute
it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
It just takes one person
he had a vision,
to
you know,
completely,
he was obsessed with accomplishing it and he did it, you know, and it's inspiring. And I think that's why it's still a story that is talked about so frequently 70 years later, roughly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
God, I love it.
Luke, man, this has been fantastic. I have a feeling we're gonna have to have you on again because there's
I would
a lot
absolutely
more
love it.
questions.
Yeah.
Okay, you better count on it
absolutely-
then.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love it. Thank you again so much for having me. I have so much respect for the work you guys do, and you know, I actually brought you guys up at this study group that I was at and telling them that I was going to be on your podcast, and everyone had nothing but great things to say about you guys, and I just couldn't be happier to have sat down with you today. Thank you again.
Oh, this is so good.
Thank you, brother. This has been great. If somebody wanted to like follow you, connect with you, maybe work with you, what's the best way to do that?
So you can email me, luke@lukeroth.net is my work email, or my Instagram name is State Farm is for you. So you could also connect with me on Instagram.
Very cool.
Perfect.
Luke,
Yeah.
thank you again, man. This has been absolutely amazing. You got me fired up. I'm about ready to run through a freaking wall after this.
I feel like,
for
we're
those
gonna
of
have
you-
to calm down after this podcast.
Oh man, I'm telling you, we started off beating on our chest. Like, let's go,
Yeah.
baby. For those of you tuning in today, thank you so much for your support. We appreciate every single one of you. We understand time and attention are by far our most important assets, and we appreciate you spending time with us today on the Buzz. Go out, make it great. Luke, thanks again, brother.
Awesome. Yes, of course, anytime. We're talking soon.